Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Pat, how you doing? Good to see you.
On top of the world. I've had a fun week. I've enjoyed being part of cancel culture for some of the left.
You've had some heavy engagement this week.
Yeah, nothing like tweeting out something pretty straightforward to a lot of people and then getting canceled by people that have followed you for like 5 to 10 years or however long I've been on Twitter, and they're like, you sold out. It's like, first off, you can have a difference of opinion on one issue, and it does not mean you sold out, you fucking idiots. Sorry, I'm going to start off by calling some of these people fucking idiots. The non-critical thinkers in the group.
I feel like there were a couple things, and I know we're going to get into it when we do this wheel, and of course this is about the trucker convoy. But it's further, right? It was like force the vote. It's like, do we hate the squad? It's there's no room for discussion without one sentence being enough to be like, forget it. We have nothing in common anymore. I'm done with you. And that was one part of it. The other part is I realized as I was doing heavy research, watching your timeline blow up.
Well, I was like, is Pat right? Or do I need to get off the show? Should I cancel my own partner here?
No, it wasn't that. I just, I don't like to weigh in on something until I sort of have some real facts and data to support what I want to say. And it's hard to know whom to trust in journalism anymore, because even some of the people I love the most have had some spectacularly bad takes on, like masking or sending kids back to school. So then I'm like, I think we're just in some very scary waters right now where it's hard to know who is really acting in good faith.
Well, I understand that. Absolutely. And my opinion as somebody who, I don't know, we're kind of pundits. I mean, the whole point is we're sharing our opinions on these things, right? Especially with the podcast, but all of Twitter, you're trying to get your opinions on things out there.
Right.
But for the record, I've never even called mandates wrong or right.
Right.
Like, so my tweet was about, I'm not going to support people who organize a protest if the organizers are racist. Right. And that is not saying I think you should be a terrible person because you disagree with me on mandates.
Right.
Because I have a very nuanced opinion on mandates. Yeah. So, but that alone is holy shit. I think I lost like, I don't know, a couple hundred followers. Like I've never seen my count go down like so quickly. And
well, that's too bad, because what that means is the division, the divisiveness that works, right?
Yeah.
Like it's always better to engage, It
is, but it's also, it's fine to disagree on this stuff,
right?
Too. It's not, it doesn't make me a sellout because I disagree with you. If you support, if you're anti-mandate, I'm not going after you.
Right.
I disagree with people who spread misinformation, which is a different thing than saying and even the people spreading misinformation, unless you have a pattern of doing it over a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I'm not chiming in.
Yeah.
but so you got people that have followed me all this time, and this issue is so central to them that they can't understand the reality that Republicans and racists organize this event. That doesn't mean I'm saying that the people at the event are racist. Right. It doesn't mean that I think you're wrong to be against mandates. Right. None of that. But they extrapolate all that because you're not allowed to hold a view of some people that, like, it's pretty fucking clear that this is a Republican sponsored thing.
Yeah, you're giving away the whole segment.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. Wait, so I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, and I do. I don't block anybody. The only people I've ever blocked are K-Hive people who I feel are wanting to get my account shut down. Like that. That's the only time that I'll block anybody, and I don't always then go tit for tat when somebody weighs in on something I post, but I think this idea of just like canceling somebody and taking away the conversation is really tragic. Yeah. So
So how
hello,
was your week?
everybody. I know. Hello. Well, so now I went to get my hair done for the first time in the pandemic. Really important stuff. Well,
Get your
because
hair
we're
did?
returning back to normal. Everybody's back
Oh,
to normal. And I thought it was just really important for me to get my hair done. So
now that COVID's over, you should
hope
have
you
your
all
hair
like it.
did.
Yeah, now that COVID's over. Oh my God. Yeah, that's kind of it. That was the highlight of my whole week. Tomorrow, I am going to go meet friend of show Tina Desiree Berg to watch friend of show Ron Placone at Flappers in Burbank. So if anybody out there in the greater LA area wants to come see Ron Placone do his comedy tomorrow night, I will be there. Masked on. I'll be drinking my wine outside before I even get in there, because I am not with this Biden administration and the return to normal. I do not feel like that's where I'm headed anytime soon, but maybe we should, I feel like we're getting into all the topics of the wheel.
Are we?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Do we have any hate viewers yet?
I know, I'm looking. I'm going to take a second. Let's see. We got some.
They got to be coming.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't read fast enough, and we don't have somebody.
I was kind of looking forward to some hate viewers.
Yeah.
I mean, RJ,
RJ, he hates
friend of the show. So. RJ, Hope, what's up?
Yep, normalization of death.
Yeah.
Gotcha. The Jimmy Dore. Okay, I don't know what's happening with that, but I don't know what's happening with that. I pressed click, and I'm not endorsing or not endorsing. I haven't seen enough. Well, I just haven't seen enough about what's happening. I did see some of the people who, put you in clown face and called you a Nazi, but I don't know whom they align with. I just think anybody calling you a Nazi is really missing the
well, they aligned with me until that person aligned with me until they knew where I stood, calling out that the trucker convoy is organized by race. That's it. I didn't even comment beyond that.
Yeah.
And overnight, I'm a Nazi, clown faced. I mean, whatever. I enjoy those things. They're funny to me. I mean, I should share it one day. Did I ever share it with you? The one with me holding a rose?
No.
We need to pull some memes that people made of me.
I want to see all your memes.
It's like really, it's kind of like you made it. And I think it's time for Lila to be memed. I mean,
somebody meme me. I'm sure I've done enough shitty stuff.
Our entire audience should start making Lila memes to distract from my memes.
No, thank you. Yeah, let's do it. Let's just get to the wheel. Let's hit it. Wait, you're not doing our hash it out. You have this whole thing, Pat. It gives me a chance to pour myself a shot off camera. Did you delete it by accident?
No, it's here, but why am I not using this one?
Look at that.
I mean, that should apply to
for everything.
All right, let's hash it out. I wish there was a way to get the video off and keep the music playing, but
that's some good groovy music.
We don't have the technology with Wait, what are we on?
I would very much like StreamYard to do some upgrading. I gotta say, I have got a few suggestions for the management. All right, where's our wheel? Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's get that beautiful wheel.
Before I go into total Karen mode, apparently talking to the management.
Let's do it. So what's on that? We got Truck No, Fourth Estate, Mask Off, Third Rail Rogan, and But Her Emails. I'm sure everyone is dying to talk about Hillary. It just never gets old.
It will never not be 2016. It's her fault. It is totally her fault.
Like I'm just cringing at the thought of it landing on that, to be honest.
Yeah, baby.
A shot. Yes. Okay. I needed to get. That's how I need to start. I got a brand new brand new bottle. I still don't have a
Wait
sponsorship.
a minute. That
What?
is flaunting your wealth. There are people without vodka.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're
Right.
you're right. Now I'm embarrassed. I'm gonna
That
go
just
off.
reminds me, we never even talked about
The Supreme
Hassan,
Socialist Hassan.
the
Ooh,
$200,000 car social.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
pretty
gonna use
gross.
this shot break to do that real quick.
Oh shit! I
Okay.
just poured. Okay.
Wait. Did you do your shot?
I poured
What'd
it
you do?
into my drink. I need to
Sure,
pour
all right.
myself another shot. I poured it into my big drink. Okay.
So while you're doing that, I'm not against a socialist owning nice things, like even extremely nice things. I'm not saying it's. I don't support buying a $200,000 car right now, but you got to say it's pretty gross when you're a podcaster calling for fairness and socialist kind of programs. There you go. She is.
Yeah, I am. I sort of am. I was pre-gaming. Yeah, and dancing to his $200,000 car was gross. Sorry.
Yeah, to not have the empathy. That's the point. Like this guy's calling for social programs and things that we support on the left, but he doesn't have the empathy to not flaunt his own goddamn wealth and $200,000 car. It's
icky.
That's gross. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah, it's gross. All right. You know, it's not gross. This shot. You ready? Cheers.
This one's not, but when I run out of the good whiskey, I have gross whiskey back in the house.
You won't taste it by then. You'll numb your mouth.
Oh, let's
cheers.
Hope. Cheers.
Okay. Okay.
That actually hit the spot.
Jill has vodka, lemon LaCroix with lime. I love that. Cheers.
That's sort of a healthy cocktail, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
super healthy. Okay, let's do it.
RJ, I just want to say I do have, and I always match the topics of the week for my beer. I have therapist, which is a 10% alcohol.
How much?
10.4%. Thank you. It's wine level. Wine level.
It's not even wine level.
I mean, it's pretty close.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, where's our wheel?
In that wheel.
Yeah, baby.
Let's get right in there,
into
baby. I can't wait for this. You Nazi sympathizer, Pat.
Oh, Nazi sympathizer. So the guy who followed me for, I don't know, a decade, whatever, however long I've been on. Have I been on Twitter for a decade? Is that officially time to get off Twitter?
Before my your age time.
But overnight, I became a literal Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah.
Okay,
so everybody knows what this is, right? The trucker convoy, which started off as what? An anti-vax mandate convoy, right? I want to get the timeline correct before I just come out with the organizer list. Or should we just show who's actually organizing these people?
Well, it started as an actual sort of trucker movement for things beyond just the vax, but it became all about the vax is the thing. But
and against mandates, and there are anti-mandate rallies going on across the world, and I mean, I do think at one point, and even for a lot of leftists, that's a leftist, it can be a leftist point of view to be anti-vax mandate. Although there are other leftists who say, well, but part of our project is to work together for the greater good, and these vaccines are helping the greater good, right?
Yeah, and where I land on this, it is nuanced because I think, first off, you should have a mask mandate should come before you have a vax mandate, to me, because and this should be paired with the government providing these things. This is not saying
I still haven't gotten a single damn mask from the government, not one.
Yeah,
or a test.
Well, apparently mine are coming on Friday. I'm sorry, not my mask, my tests. My 4 tests are arriving Friday, which
just
is not
in the
enough.
Nick of time.
4 tests is not even enough if you have COVID to safely test to see if you're allowed to return to work safely.
And apparently we're already done with Omicron and moving back to normal, and you still don't have a test. So But anyway, yeah. So it started as that. And then there were sort of like conflicting accounts of who was there and why. And the fact that 90% of truckers in Canada are vaccinated, but you can still be against the mandates if you're vaccinated. But then it started becoming more and more clear that the organizers behind this convoy are far right actors, right?
Yeah, they're far right, and even the people that aren't necessarily far right are, I mean, Republican think tank stuff. We're talking about
Right.
some of the big money behind this is coming from groups that wanted to weaponize things like the Tea Party. I mean,
Right.
this is like a sort of Tea Party movement, which is not to say that the people supporting this are the same ilk necessarily as Tea Party people, but
Well, let's see
the
who
idea.
some of them are.
All right.
Right.
These are the organizers.
These are some of the organizers. You know, separatists, people who talk about, you know, the Liberal Party being infested with Islamists, QAnon people. And again, that, you know, I'm really hesitant to, you know, when we were doing like Force the Vote or March for Medicare for All, there was a big attempt, or as a Bernie supporter, big attempt by the media and people who wanted to smear us. If anybody with, you know, a problematic viewpoint or an actual Nazi showed up for anything, the whole movement was smeared as being like, look at who this person draws, look at his supporters, right? And you cannot be responsible for all of your supporters. You can, however, be responsible for the people whom you take money from, number one. And I do think it, you know, it matters that these people who are supporting this convoy, they are not pro-union, they are not pro-labor, they are not pro-worker safety. That's not, they haven't shown up for any of those.
Why aren't those demands there on their demands? Their demands are not worker demand. I mean, it's pretty much the mandates. It's and that's what's rallying the troops behind them. But this is what the right, they want to make this a deeper cultural issue where you're on one side of it and you're ultimately going to be on the right is what they want. I'm not saying you're on the right if you hold this position, but that's why all that money is influxed to this movement, is because
like $10 million in the last 2 weeks has come to this movement. It's from Ron DeSantis people. It's from the Attorney General in Texas. It's from Trump. It's from Marjorie Taylor Greene. They are sending all this money to these people, to this convoy, not because they are espousing leftist policies. That's not what they're trying to support. You know, they don't want any mandates. They don't want masks. They don't want any restrictions at all. So it's actually really a very pro-capital.
It's
convoy.
It's old school Koch brothers shit, just like how they put out all this misinformation about the environment and global warming. They funded $1 bazillion into the media to create this narrative that global warming wasn't real.
Right.
And essentially what they're trying to do, I'm not saying this is what this whole movement is. I'm not saying this is why people support it, but they want to act like they want to push this message that there should be no reaction to COVID. It's natural immunity. It's kind of like the flu. It's not a big deal. And the idea is it's twofold. It's protecting corporate profits, getting people to show up to work every day, same thing as usual. And also a wedge issue for Republicans to run on. And look, if you're really staunchly anti-vax mandates or anti-vax and a lefty, how many people do we know that are like interested in, like, that's a big issue that's so central that they might vote Republican on it. So I understand why the right would want to weaponize this. This is not to say that it's wrong that that's your central issue if you support that.
Right.
It's not.
But you do have to be aware of who is providing the funding.
Who is pushing this narrative, you know, with who's backing this whole thing in Canada. And they're not nice to the people in the town. I mean, let's go into some of this stuff. What else we got on So the Freedom Convoy, Jack Bauder, who's one of the big guys in the right, he's a far right guy. He's the first guy that was on that list earlier. They backed anti-union shit. I mean, this is so if you're a leftist aligning with this Canada thing, one of the founders is anti-union, all right,
anti-protest, yeah,
far right guy. So
yeah,
I mean that's pretty clear. So they put out some narratives that the natives in the area, Native American, well, you're not American Indian, I suppose, if you're in Canada, but you're I don't even know.
the First Nations.
But,
oh, sorry, were you putting it up there? Yeah, First Nations leadership. Yeah.
So it's bullshit. The First Nations Leadership Council condemned this whole thing, so they're against it. And what did they say? Movement across Canada and its spread of misinformation, racism, and violence. The racist double standard in policing in this country is on full display.
Yep.
So that's one thing. The other thing is how many of these people that are really violently opposed to, violently supporting this thing. And when I say violently supporting, I mean, like you're canceling people for having a different opinion on this.
Right.
Are like communists. So if you're a Communist Party in Canada where this is happening, put out a whole article condemning it too.
Right. It's clearly not a working class. It's not a movement of, even if people who are there are part of the working class, the movement is not being sponsored by people who are proponents of labor, or who advocate for working class.
So what is it? You hope, so say you accept these facts, if you're somebody who supports what they're doing up there. How do you support an event? Like how is this going to bring us leftist ideals?
Yeah.
When you're backing
their whole tenet is just anti-mandate, right? No masks,
it's
no
really what
vaccine.
It's about,
yeah.
Right.
Just freedom to let it rip, which to me is like, that's what Wall Street wants. That's where corporate America is. So I don't understand. That said, I understand, and I know we've talked about this, but like the vaccine mandates, I understand why they're problematic, especially with this particular vaccine. We all have, like, if you have kids, or we all had our measles vaccines and our smallpox and polio and all that. Those are different. They were not, the monetary motive behind it was taken away from those vaccines. So it's much easier to look at them with some objectivity. And this, we know that if you're vaccine only, then why aren't we forcing Moderna and Pfizer to release, to waive the patents so we can vaccinate the rest of the world? So I understand
100%.
why people are skeptical. Yeah, sorry.
Vaccine only is a bullshit policy. It's garbage. It should not exist. There should be no one should let Biden off the hook for this vaccine only policy.
Right.
But I'm sorry, if you're against mandating masks and you're spreading misinformation about masks, that tells me where you land. And there's a lot of bullshit that goes into believing you have to disregard all of science to say that masks don't help. Like you could argue that they don't help that much or something, right. But there's no science out there saying that masks are harming people. Like it doesn't exist.
And they're coming up with it. They're making that up. That will be in our next segment, but they're pushing that now.
Exist. Now, should our government be providing the actual masks that do help, like a face covering that's a sock or something? It's not going to help.
Right.
You. But of course, our government should be providing the actual masks that work to people. So just to go back to this convoy thing is, again, like, I think there are a lot of people who are members of the convoy who are there showing up and protesting, who are really anti-mandate from a genuine place. And I appreciate that. Even if it's not like my top cause, I understand that sentiment and that as a righteous sort of, something to fight for. But you can't take away that this is being primarily funded by far right people. And that should make everybody suspicious of what's happening. It is. And let's say, so you've got people like Richard Wolff, who I respect a lot, saying that we should all be supporting this trucker convoy. If the left gets on board with a movement funded by the right, do you think we're going to have more power to direct that movement and energy? I mean, we're going to be doomed if we get behind. We're basically jumping into some Tea Party shit. Like,
yeah, and I'm also just not really like, what's the objective to that? Like, how does that help the left on any real policy that we've all been fighting for? It just seems it's only about anti-mandates and get everybody back to work, that is not my project. I mean, I understand the anti-mandate, but like, yeah.
Right. But how does that, you're not going to unite the people that believe in mandates, which is a large, like the polls show that most of America believes in vaccine mandates. So if you think you're going to get your coalition that way, you're not. So you're going to create this movement of support for an issue that half of Democrats are never going to support.
Right.
So how is that helping the left? How is that going to ultimately be something that gets us Medicare for all? It's the movement wants you to get back to work regardless of what the fuck is going on in the world. That's the whole thing. Get back to work. Get back to work. Get back to work.
The urgency of normal.
Your bosses don't have to do anything. You just have to get back to work. That's the money behind it. That's their motive. That's
exactly. All right, let's spin the wheel. Let's get to something.
Do we want to? I don't know. Do we have other shit to show?
Oh yeah. Did you want to show the video of one of the founders?
Oh yeah. So here's another founder. I mean, we listed 5 of the big ones, here. Yeah. Here's genius Pat King.
Now what it is the part of the depopulation. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. And what there's an end game. It's called depopulation of the Caucasian race, or the Anglo-Saxon. And that's what the goal is to depopulate the Anglo-Saxon race, because they are the ones with the strongest bloodlines. And we'll leave it at that, because then we get into a whole different topic. But it's a depopulation of race. Okay, that's what they want to do. I've spoken before about how we have Ahmed Ahmadinejad, or Mahmed. I can't say their names very well because I don't have the dialect that they do. But we have Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who states that no matter what, we are going to infiltrate governments, education systems. We're going to infiltrate every way possible into the Western world. What we're going to do is not only infiltrate by flooding with refugees, we're going to infiltrate the education systems to manipulate it to endorse this kind of behavior. This kind of behavior then endorses less procreation. All right, so the less procreation, the less white people, or, Anglo-Saxon. Let's say Anglo-Saxon, because when I say white, all the Antifa guys call up the race card. So we're going to call ourselves Anglo-Saxon, okay?
So that's one of the organizers. He's not like, if he were just some rando who was there, I wouldn't care, but that's one of the organizers, right? So that's a problem.
It's one thing to say white, but does it get better when you just say Anglo-Saxon? Like,
a little fancier.
Does that includes like 3 more groups of people? I don't even know. What's Anglo-Saxon? How does that expand white? Like, to where, like, but does that become okay because he like added a few more people? Like,
okay, so here's something that Aussie Oracle just wrote. You don't think this could transition to larger movements, possibly a general strike? So I love that idea. But as we were saying before, the whole objective of this from the capital class that's funding it is get back to work, right? So if it were about worker protections or stopping, the supply chain or doing anything to disrupt capital, I do think that could possibly flow into a general strike. The end goal is let it rip, go back to normal, and we don't need any protocols.
But how are you going to get the people who believe in mandates, or even if they don't believe in mandates, believe in the vaccine, to support your anti-mandate movement so severely? Like, you need all of those people to be behind a general strike.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not going to support it. Okay, this guy with his accent. First off, the leader of this movement is driving around and doing a fucking Zoom call while he's driving. I mean, if that doesn't tell you it's led by a bunch of fucking idiots, I can't fucking help you.
Well, and they just, I mean, clearly they're not for any worker rights, wage theft, or worker protections. Not the people who are there. I'm not talking about just the truckers, not members. Yeah.
The asterisk is always, we're not judging the people who are there. Like,
right.
Think for use your brain to understand that we're not criticizing people. We understand that people will go to this event because they support the mandates, and they're not racist because they're at an event organized by racists. But the event is organized by racists, and this is an indisputable. You can dispute it, but it's organized by racists. That a lot of the top players are racist. So one of the top things I see is like that I saw from my one tweet yesterday was that people think I'm falling for Coin Intel Pro stuff because they're always going to have they're going to create a monster that, there's 1 million people at this protest, and they found the 20 that are bad, and they're going to do it. They're going to make them out to be big cases or whatever, or the FBI is going to plant somebody in there who's going to do something bad and say some racist stuff. They're going to label the whole movement racist. Right. The organizers are racist, people.
I mean, that's where that narrative does fall apart, right? Like, because I agree, like that we saw that happen with the BLM protests. We saw what they tried to do with the March for Medicare for All. We saw that like anybody who was for forcing the vote was immediately like, oh, you're a Jimmy Dore stan. And like, I get that that's a tactic that people use.
Yeah. Well, I just want to comment here. I scream to high heaven that it's right wing and failed to even consider that not right wingers are also there. I actually did not do that. I said that the organizers are racist. That's it. That's all I said.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
All this is extrapolated bullshit. So think better.
I feel like, listen, I know, again, I say this every time I ever talk about Bernie Sanders, and I know we've all moved on from Bernie Sanders, but he got one check from a woman married to a billionaire, and it was for like $250, and he returned it. I'm sure he took money from lots of bad places that he didn't know about, but like this has been funded to the tune of $10 million. And a lot of the huge donors are major players in the right wing of the US. And that should make everyone call into question what's happening, because they've been really silent on every other left-wing idea we've all wanted. But and I do see people are writing like, right now, these truckers are blocking capital, and they are. But I don't think that's a long-term objective to get the whole goal of this from the people organizing it are to get everybody back to work and to do away with any restrictions.
Immediately, if we are allowed to return to work and there are no vaccines mandates, this group is gone. Like the idea that we're going to pivot this group into something else.
For further,
all the organization of this disappears as soon as the government lets up on the mandates. There's no call. This isn't a continued movement. This is never going to be something beyond the mandates.
Right.
This is not going to lead to a general strike at all. Like the blocking of trucker shit, delivering products and things. It's over the second there are no, and we're already living in this place where we're not going to have any protections. Our government is pulling all the protections. So they're going to get what they want regardless soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they all just do seem to be working in concert with each other. Right.
Yeah. But let's see where this movement is in a month from now. All the people that are like diehard, or 2 months from now.
Right. Yeah.
If you really think this is leading to a general strike, check it. Like, record this video right here and play it back to me in a month.
I'm sure.
And tell me how much that general strike is coming because of the mandate protest. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
It just
going
does not
to
seem to
happen.
be that that's part of their project at all. All right. Next, let's have some fun. What?
That was fun.
Not that this wasn't a ton of fun.
Yeah, baby.
This is way more fun. Way
Is
more
it?
fun.
We could step in it on this one. Let's do it.
All right. So a lot happened since last week when they first tried to get Rogan to apologize and canceled. It was either Neil Young or Rogan on Spotify because of his COVID disinformation or misinformation. And even that seemed to be a bit of misinformation because the ratio was off and Rogan did not push back enough at all against the anti-vaxxers, but he certainly had people on who were pro-vaccine. He himself even initially had been pro-vaccine, but he issued an apology. Spotify issued an apology. He said he was going to put a disclaimer anytime he had a sort of, more fringe guest who was more skeptical of the vaccine. He said he was going to try to follow skeptics up with more mainstream doctors at a better ratio. He said a bunch of stuff, right? That I felt like came under the auspices of like, I'm apologizing, I should do better. And whether or not you thought that was enough, he certainly handled it more than a lot of people on CNN and MSNBC. But the very next day after his 9-minute apology, I got this from Move On, which I thought was interesting. But where did it go? Oh, we're putting it. Sorry, we label things differently. And then I forgot what we were doing. Okay. This is what I got from moveon.org. Did you know that Spotify's #1 podcaster is a racist, transphobic conspiracy theorist? Reply Spotify to demand it drop Joe Rogan's podcast, which felt really harsh on the heels of that apology.
So this is where, look, if you're consistent, I understand, and I won't take away anyone's thoughts on Joe Rogan who is offended by it. Like, I would never ask anyone to not be offended by it or not say, fuck that guy forever, if that's your opinion. Like if that, bothered you. But where's the consistency? Did Move On, did they tweet that, or send you emails about removing Joanna Reed from MSNBC? Did they say, we got to get her off the air because she said transphobic, misogynist, not misogynist. Wait a minute. What's the opposite of misogynist?
Homophobic.
She didn't even do that.
No.
Transphobic,
no,
that's not
homophobic.
The opposite.
No, but that was, yeah. And then she
xenophobic. She was very anti-Islamic. And then her chain of apologies was awful. So she went from, I didn't say it. I might've said it.
Somebody
hacked my account in the past. So it was that. And so look, if you just compare apologies 1-to-1, you have to look at that and say, like, Joe Rogan's at least appeared more sincere.
Right.
I'm not saying you have to agree with me.
Right.
And I don't, you could have your judgments on Rogan, but the point I'm trying to make next is that, like, okay, so Joe Rogan has an entertainment show where the whole thing is he has unfiltered conversations with whoever the fuck ever. That doesn't give you permission to use the N-word. Doesn't do any of that stuff. But he's a comedian. Joanne Reed is a fucking newscaster on MSNBC. Like literally the second highest paid person on MSNBC or whatever. But do you not see the different standards that these people are held to? And that does not take away from Rogan saying some awful fucking shit I disagree with. But
absolutely. But it was interesting. Yes, I do think that, because I was trying to figure out, like, what exactly are they doing? It's not like if he gets canceled, they're going to get his 11 million viewers, right? Those viewers aren't going to leave Joe Rogan if he's canceled and go to CNN and MSNBC. And so like, what is the goal there? And I keep coming back to the only thing I can figure out is everybody wants to return to normal in this administration in Wall Street. They came in blaming everything, a pandemic, on the unvaccinated. They bear no responsibility for any of it, even though there are many other approaches or additional approaches, including the vaccine, that could have been taken. We've done none of them. I think there was like $160 billion in the CARES Act that was supposed to go towards schools and helping infrastructure and air quality in schools. And, something like, I think in Chicago, 70% of that was given to, they took what was actually apportioned for schools and air filtration systems and gave it to police officers in Chicago. I mean, so there's so many people who are to blame for this, but the administration in Wall Street are really, and corporate news media, like, they're all just going with blaming the unvaccinated for everything that's happening. We want to return to normal. We did everything right. We got vaccinated. We're tired of COVID. Open everything up. And I feel like Joe Rogan and his viewers are trying to be, the aspersions being cast on them are a way of blaming him and his viewers for the state of the pandemic in our country right now. I mean, that's all I can figure out. Like, why is this why I don't understand all of the vitriol against him.
I mean, I don't really think it comes down to ratings short term per se. Like, I don't think MSNBC and CNN are like, oh, he's taking our ratings. I think it's more about who's funding those news networks, which is the big donors who really want the overall narrative to be that things are fine, get back to work, So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, Rogan has conversations that are problematic all the time. But so my big picture on this is like, okay, so what's the outcome? So all these people saying, pull your music from Spotify and then go listen to me on Amazon. So you're going to,
yeah.
Look, it's not really censorship when you pull your financing dollars. I support people saying, fuck Joe Rogan, I want off Spotify. But if you do that and give your money to Amazon, like, what's the deep, like, what are you accomplishing with that?
Yeah.
I mean,
like, you're okay to have your show on with Bill Clinton and Bill Gates, who have shows there, who, were cavorting with a convicted pedophile rapist. That's okay. Not saying the N word.
But the other piece of this to me, and everyone has their own opinion, but I don't think Joe Rogan is necessarily, I don't think he's a bad actor. I don't think that's it with him. You can have the different opinion than me.
Yeah.
I think he's just an idiot dude, bro.
Yeah.
I get the dude, bro thing. But people like him because he does have conversations that, just like Howard Stern, cross out of the normal whatever, because it's unfiltered and they just say whatever.
And they're long and he doesn't push back as much. Listen, you and I go through
he's soft.
Yeah. You and I go through a lot of stuff for our dumb show that doesn't have 11 million viewers. And I think we take very seriously, like, we'll be like, are we going to put this up? Are we not? I don't know if I want to endorse this. Like, there was the whole video spliced together of Joe Rogan saying the N word, which, or I know, like, I don't say it. We're not supposed to say it. I get it. Awful. I think it's from a few years ago, and he was not lobbing that at Black people. He was quoting other racist people or songs. It's still all bad, but like, there was a time 10 years ago where people were allowed to do it if they were quoting, or some people were, or they thought they were. And so this whole video comes out and it makes him look awful. He apologizes for it. And then, of course, we see video of Joe Biden in Congress using the full N word with the hard ER. And we see spliced together like 3-minute reel of everybody on TYT using the full out N word, said full out. Right. So like, I feel like.
Yeah. So finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Cause now I don't remember.
Cause I interrupted.
So, no, it's okay. I know I've had 3 drinks now in the last 45 minutes. But I do think it's important to look at a person's overall, like, to take into account other parts of him, not just this easily spliced together and I think like overall a dishonest summation of this person. And there was an article written by Ben Burgess in I don't even know what that was in now because I can't read it. It's too small. But he does talk about the fact that lobbing these smears against Rogan are dishonest, right? That he, when the Trump administration instituted a policy of separating undocumented immigrants from their children in 2018, Rogan responded with an eloquent harangue about how anybody who wasn't horrified by that policy wasn't on Team Human, and ended with an expression of enthusiasm for the newly elected Democratic Socialist, AOC. The next year, Rogan interviewed Cornel West, describing him as brilliant. He tweeted it was one of his all-time favorite episodes, right? So, I mean, the fact is right now we have a president who is continuing that anti-Muslim ban. So to me, that, like, if Move On wants to use its platform and its voice to solicit money from me for, white supremacist policies, great. I'm all for it. But like, use that to target the big man in charge who's continuing some of the most despicable policies of Trump, not targeting a comedian.
What about robot dogs? Robot dogs
Yeah.
on the border, like for immigration. Like we got robot dogs. I mean, let's just pretend that doesn't exist. I just want to make it clear. Like I understand completely people who like Rogan. 90% of his use of the word was out of context. I mean, like in the same context as TYT, where they were telling a quote, talking about somebody else said the N-word,
right?
A lot of that stuff, which this is the thing that people need to understand. Like 10 years ago, even 10 years ago, but more like 15 years ago for sure, there wasn't a stigma against using the word, like actually reading a word out of in someone else's quote. It wasn't like the news media did it on the air. The regular news media on CNN would even read the word out loud. But I just want to add before I forget that he made a really racist joke about Planet of the Apes in the movie theater, and really gross. That was gross. He accepted it was gross. They don't show in the short clip of that when they're going after him that he apologized after and sort of had a moment
like
after.
Even back then when he said that horrible joke.
Yeah, that was wrong. But that doesn't forgive it. But I just want the whole context sort of out there. But really I don't agree with that. And that was wrong. Yeah. But in his apology video, he owns that thing where this is again the contrast where, he's a comedian owning a bad joke.
You're right.
An old bad joke and old bad uses of reading the word out loud at all.
Yeah.
Versus an actual broadcaster on air now who, granted she's Black, so she has more permission, obviously certain things are not going to apply to her, but the homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia against Islamic people, she's a newscaster on the air, like the #2 person at MSNBC.
And the thing, is really unfortunate. Like, I think The Rock came out right away in support of Joe Rogan, saying like, this is my friend. I know his heart. He's good. And then Don Winslow, big lib on Twitter, wrote, really disappointed in you, Rock, for using your voice to support this person, and like added that mashed up clip of all the times he used the N-word. And then right away, The Rock was like, oh, sorry. Now I understand the full narrative. I can't support him anymore. Your good friend, Rogan. Okay. And then somebody, and this is like, thank goodness for the internet researchers, then there's all this video of The Rock as a WWE player or announcer or whatever the hell. I didn't watch it, but like using horrifically like racist and bigoted,
WWE. I don't even know. They racist tropes were the whole thing. So he was like Islamophobic. I saw one of the
and it's all wrong and bad. But like, if we're really just are we really just never allowed to have made bad choices? Learn and apologize from them? Are we canceling everybody who ever made a bad choice? And if we are, which I don't agree with, but Jesus, I mean, the president of the United States has certainly done a lot more damage to this country, to Black families in this country through his racist carceral programs and the crime bill and the, you know, student debt, like not allowing people to discharge their student debt through bankruptcy, to, you know, being a huge proponent of the Iraq war, to not forcing to waive the patent so we can't vaccinate the rest of the world. I mean, there are so many things that are abhorrent about what's happening in this world, and to have any focus on Joe Rogan, we've already given it too much focus, honestly, but yeah.
Well, okay, I mean, look, I don't care. Like if you want to if you are a person who thinks Joe Rogan is awful, I don't disagree. I mean, I can personally listen to Rogan and think he said that in the past, but I'm a white guy, so that's fair too.
Right.
He said that in the past. He apologized. It's awful. I see the context of all the times he said it. I can make my own judgment who I think he is, but you don't have to agree with that. That's fine. But I mean, are you also canceling Bill Maher? Because if you're not canceling Bill Maher alongside him,
or
like,
George
holy
Carlin,
fuck, like, and which doesn't apply. Like a principled progressive on the left, I can understand them saying "fuck Joe Rogan" forever. I get it. But a centrist canceling Joe Rogan,
crazy. No,
and
I know.
not canceling Bill Maher is the ultimate hypocrite.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. All right, let's spin the wheel.
Move on.
I need another shot.
Oh, Third Real Rogan's still up there. But that's on me.
Yeah, baby.
I need a new beer.
I knew I would be so lucky.
All right,
I got it. Yeah.
What do we got?
And so Michael Mann, the
We got
corporate
a shot.
Another shot. I know you just took it away. Okay. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Reflect the sun. Let's cancel Michael Mann, the corporate climate scientist, trying to tell you that carbon capture has a chance to save us. I mean, there's so much misinformation, disinformation that is killing us that just is, you know, pushed under the rug.
Right.
And it doesn't make any of it okay. But I do think, like, it's really important to understand the motives behind. Oh, yeah. Cheers. What's going on?
Well, I just want to say, I mean, so Hope, I agree with you. Like, you know, you support canceling Maher and Rogan. That's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with people who can't tolerate Rogan.
Yeah. And like, the Young Turks, right?
Yeah, but I mean, exactly. So if you watch the Young Turks video, 90% of the clips were them just repeating quotes, just like Rogan was. You know,
right.
The difference is Rogan said that he made a terrible joke about watching a movie, Planet of the Apes, Black people, awful. So, you know, people that don't want to accept his apology on that, dude, you make your own decision on that. Like, I don't care. Like I don't mean I don't care. Like I don't care that he said that. I mean,
no, but like,
I think it's a this
isn't some like big apologia for him.
Like, well, that's the whole thing about people making mistakes. Everyone has to decide on their own. And I would never lobby that people should forgive him for that. You make your own decision if you think that's somebody who's changed or not. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are we at?
All right. Spin the wheel. We got 6 minutes. Let's go. Let's
6 minutes.
See how much else we can get canceled.
Yeah, baby.
Let's offend someone.
Oh,
that's fair. God. That's fair because we're running out of time. So hopefully I don't get to this terrible bottle of Jack Daniels I have to drink. I have nothing but bad liquor left.
I really want to make sure we get to these other things and we're almost done. Okay, cheers. Let's go. We got to talk fast. Yep, cheers.
Oh, I just spun it. Here we go. Let's go.
Yeah, baby.
No, I can't.
All right, that's it. Oh, this is the last shot possible. That's perfect, actually.
Oh my God. Wait, I have important things to say that I'm not going to be able to.
Nope. You're going. Are you
Just-
breaking things?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good podcasting.
It's a party. Okay, 1 second.
Ooh,
I
that one
got
hit
it.
wrong.
Wait, you just
I'm not
did
gonna
it?
lie.
Okay, I'm not there yet. Oh my God. Yeah, remove. Okay. All right. 5 minutes. Oh my God.
We have an
Wait,
actual.
that
In
just-
one of these, we already talked about Third Rail Rogan. So let's just
Yeah,
see.
baby.
Okay.
All right. There we go.
This is great because I feel like we could really end on a positive note.
Sort of a high note. I agree.
Sort of a high note. We actually saw some pushback. We saw the Fourth Estate show up this past week in at least 3 separate instances, which gives me some hope. Although, I clipped these, I think it was on Friday. Oh my God, I have like the drunk hiccups. Friday, and I haven't seen much since then. But okay, we had 3 different instances. One was the pushback to Ned Price talking about Russia was for sure going to have a false flag operation, and we had pushback from journalist Matt Lee. Should we just watch this and see how a journalist pushing back against the state narrative
State
is
Department.
treated?
Yeah.
Am I doing it or are you? Am I doing it?
That button.
Here I go. All right, I'm going to do it.
A mouthful there. So you said actions such as these suggest otherwise. Suggest meaning that they suggest they're not interested in talks and they're going to go ahead with some kind of What action are you talking about?
One, the actions I've just pointed to.
What action?
The fact that Russia continues to engage in disinformation
Well,
campaigns.
you made an allegation that they might do that. Have they actually done it?
What we know, Matt, is what I have just said, that they have engaged in this activity,
Well,
in
engage
this
in-
planning
hold on a
activity.
second. What
But let
activity?
me
What
because
activity?
obviously this is not the first time we've made these reports public. You'll remember that just a few weeks ago.
I'm sorry. Made what report public?
If you'll let me finish, I will
Okay.
tell you what report we made
Okay.
public. We told you a few weeks ago that we have information indicating Russia also has already prepositioned a group of operatives to conduct a false flag operation in eastern Ukraine. So that, Matt, to your question, is an action that Russia has already
Well,
taken.
It's an action that you say that they have taken, but you have shown no evidence to confirm that. And I'm going to get to the next question here, which is, what is the evidence that they? I mean, this is like crisis actors, really. This is like Alex Jones territory you're getting into now. What evidence do you have to support the idea that there is some propaganda film in the making?
Matt, this is derived from information known to the U.S. government, intelligence information that we have declassified. I think you know.
Okay. Well, where is it? Where is this information?
It is intelligence information that we have declassified.
Well, where is it? Where's the declassified information?
I just delivered it.
No, you made a series of allegations and statements.
Would you like us to print out the topper? Because you will see a transcript of this briefing that you can print out for yourself.
That's not evidence, Ned. That's you saying it. That's not evidence. I'm sorry.
What would you like, Matt?
I would like to see some proof that you that you can show that
Matt, you have
that,
been
that shows
you-
that
you-
shows that the Russians are doing this. Ned, I've been doing this for a long
I
time.
know that was my point.
as
You have been doing this for quite a while. You know
I
that
have.
when we declassify intelligence
That's
information,
right. And I
we
remember
do so in a
WMDs
means
Iraq.
we do
And
so
I
with an
remember
eye to
that-
protecting
that
sources and
Kabul
methods.
is not going to fall. I remember a lot of things. So where is the declassified information other than you coming out here and saying?
Matt, I'm sorry you don't like the format, but we have
It's not the
declassified.
format; it's the content.
I'm sorry you don't like the content. I'm sorry
It's not that I don't
sorry
like
you
it,
are
we're
doubting
just-
the information that is in the possession of the U.S. government.
No,
What I'm telling you is that this is information that's available to us. We are making it available to you in order for a couple reasons. One is to attempt to deter the Russians from going ahead with this activity. Two, in the event we're not able to do that, in the event the Russians do go ahead with this, to make it clear as day, to lay bare the fact that this has always been an attempt on the part of the Russian Federation to fabricate a pretext.
Yeah, but you don't have any evidence to back it up other than what you're saying. It's like you're saying, we think we have information the Russians may do this. but you won't tell us what the information
Well,
is. And then when you're asked,
that is the idea behind deterrence, Matt. That is the
when
idea
you're
behind
asked-
deterrence.
and when
It
you're
is our
asked-
hope that the
and when
Russians
you're
don't
asked
go
what the
forward with
information
this.
is, you say, "I just gave it to you," but that's not what
You seem not
That's
to
not the way it
understand.
works.
You seem not to
No,
understand
Ned,
the idea
you
of
don't
deterrence.
understand.
We are
You
trying
seem
to
not to
deter
understand the
the
idea
Russians
of-
from moving forward with this type of activity. That is why we're making it public today. If the Russians don't go forward with this, that is not ipso facto an indication that they never had plans to do so.
But then it's unprovable. I mean, my God, what is the evidence that you have that suggests that the Russians are even planning this?
Matt,
I mean, I'm not
you-
saying that they're not, but you just come out and say this and expect us just to believe it without you showing a shred of evidence that it's actually true. Other than when I ask, or when anyone else asks, what's the information? You said, well, I just gave it to you, which was just you making a statement.
Matt, you said yourself, you've been in this business for quite a long time. You know that when we make information, intelligence information public, we do so in a way that protects sensitive sources and methods. You also know that we declassify information only when we're confident in that information. If you doubt the credibility of the U.S. government, of the British government, of other governments, and want to find solace in information that the Russians are
Solace?
putting out, that is for you to do.
I'm not asking what the Russian government is putting out, and what,
John.
do you mean, what is it supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Officials are describing very specific scenes, but do they actually have a video?
Okay, so that's incredible. First of all, we never see reporters talk back to the State Department like that. Normally they just write down what they say and say it, right? So that's amazing. Just imagine what our country would look like, what our world would look like if reporters had been
Wendy's?
doing that for the last 20 years. Right? And then because he's so unused to getting any pushback or follow-up questions, he basically calls him a Russian, like a useful idiot for the Russians. You don't believe us? Okay,
So what is your evidence of this? Well, I just said it, and I wouldn't have said it if we didn't believe in it.
It's
So
like
I said it.
catch-22.
I said it. The evidence is that I said it.
Yeah.
So
Um,
no, but
and
kudos
that's
to
a
him.
really
So
good point.
This is
wow. That was amazing. You're right. The State
Right.
Department flag behind him, it was the whole world map. U.S. State Department's just the whole world map. Amazing. Yeah.
that makes me want to pull up video. I wish I had real-time capabilities of the flag falling behind Kamala Harris was it Biden? I don't know. It was probably Hillary. God damn it. I don't know.
Right. One
How
of
can
them.
I talk? I don't even want to talk about Hillary, but the flag falling during their speech.
Oh, you mean the lights with Hillary and
No, there was a
oh.
flag that fell behind someone when they were talking about democracy or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. What else we
but
got
yeah,
on this?
so then it wasn't just that. It was also we had there was a good thread on it. Let me find it here. Okay, so the next day or later that night, one of the heads of ISIS was killed by American forces, and then they said, no, it was he. There was actually 13 civilians who were killed along with him, and they said, well, he blew himself up because they didn't want to take responsibility for killing civilians. I think 9 children and 4 women. And so when there was pushback about that, which I didn't see video, it was all done, it was all written down. But that journalist, Jen Psaki, said maybe if
Wait a minute,
skeptical of
wait
the
a minute.
US. Oh, you have it? Oh.
Before you say anything.
She came in like a stocky bomb. Yeah, she's nothing like that robot blonde.
I'm sorry, I know you have something important to say, but this must trump that. For secretary.
This may be hard to believe. We don't spend a lot of time talking about or thinking about President Trump here. Former President Trump, to be.
God damn it.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
good.
I just she
Yeah.
came in like a what was
Yeah.
it? I don't know. Sorry.
Talking about. Yeah, but so when the reporters pushed back on the narrative that maybe this guy didn't blow himself and 13 other people up, Psaki basically said, well, maybe you'd be more inclined to believe ISIS and the Kremlin. So, once again, they are pushing this narrative that if you don't just fall in line, you are a useful idiot for the enemy. It's really striking. And then
Right.
the final, yeah, go ahead.
What? No, I just want to say, so, I'll just pivot to the next video.
Yeah.
So the mainstream media narrative, like, so for leftists that, I don't want to start this war with anti-vaxxers. Fine. But let's just watch some real pushback by a bullshit guy, a guy that was on MSNBC, but he's speaking the truth these days. So, you know, here's one of the main doctors pushing a lot of this get back to work shit.
Right.
There's a flippancy as well when it comes to some of these predictions. I just want to play this clip from a podcast you were on last year when you were asked about variants. Have a listen.
Even with variants, you know, if they're going to be setting against, because the variants are the new bugaboo, right? Like, oh, you know, we always knew there was mutations. That's what coronaviruses do. All viruses do that. But the thing is, if the vaccines are effective against severe disease, which they are, even against the Brazilian variant.
Yes, I really need to say something. I need to say variants, schmariants. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Given how many people have died at the hands of the Delta and Omicron variants, do you regret saying that?
Yeah, so gross. That there's a video, or the interview goes on for like 10 minutes where Mehdi Hassan really pushes Dr. Gandhi on, you know, she's really big on open back up and let's get an off ramp for wearing masks and getting people back to school and back to work. And she's been wrong so many times. And it was like the third instance of last week of a journalist pushing back.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I didn't even watch this clip beforehand. I thought you watched the whole video.
Yeah.
So where the video goes is Mehdi makes 3 cases where, excuse me, that's the beer talking. They want out of my belly. Where she predicted, she went on mainstream media and predicted that we're all going to be out of this. This variant is not a big deal. This is it. We're kind of over. We should all relax. And he by the end of it, she admitted she shouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah. And she said, I'm going to take a break from Twitter. Like that was the big problem. But there was a whole thing. And, you know, once again, where is it? The blah, 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 blah. Where's our video of all the people lying? All the people lying about, oh, here it is. Okay. So yeah, you know, the pushback, and of course, every time I look for clips, and forgive me, but you know, the DNC and the Republicans and Fox News put together all of the instances of MSNBC and CNN being hypocrites. So, you know, this is what it looks like when people go unchecked by
before we show it. I just want to say this is where I have empathy with people that either, like, I'm not faulting people who believe this stuff. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So, so like, I get where people are coming from, where they believe some of this stuff. Yeah. So, you know, they distrust the government because
they lie.
The government deserves to be mistrusted, and the media deserves to be mistrusted.
So just keep in mind that everything you're about to see was after we had data from Israel and the World Health Organization that was countered these people's assertions.
You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Vaccines prevent getting infected, prevent getting sick, prevent your hospitalization.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
Yeah. So those were all really outlandish claims that led to, I mean, thousands, hundreds of thousands of deaths. And listen, Fox News has been all like, you know, I've been anti-Fox News for 2 decades, 3 decades, whatever it is now.
Forever.
But there's a reason that people have a lot of skepticism and mistrust, and overall, my whole objective, and I think, Pat, I think you feel the same, is like, that's the whole name of the show. Our whole, through line is to question authority and the people in power and demand some accountability. We're not trying to make people who are just fighting for better lives feel bad about what they're doing. It is all about punching up and demanding more from the people who have been elected to represent us.
You are always so good at ending on a tagline, which I appreciate. And then I always say something that just fucks it all up. So I really feel like letting it go there, but yeah, I'll try to let it go there. She's right. She's right.
Don't
rewind
cancel
the tape.
people. Let's not cancel each other. Let's keep the engagement going so we can have conversations and try to figure out a way out of this together, because certainly the people in power are not concerned with our well-being. They are truly sending us all out to die in a pandemic. They do not care.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really important to know.
So this is the tricky part. Like, we're all fucked. I understand people that want to fall for some anti-science-y shit. And I'm not saying that you should believe all the things. Don't believe the CDC is lying, right? The whole point of a lot of these people is to get us back to work. That's it.
Right.
Get us back to work without our bosses paying for anything. Let's just ride this thing out. I mean, they're completely ignoring the immunocompromised and people that are really at risk. Everyone has a comorbidity. Like,
yeah, pretty much everyone has a comorbidity. And by the way, like, if you get infected with COVID, even if it's a mild case, you are considered as a person who now has an underlying condition. So, like, in a country with no universal health care, I've seen a few things that are great. You can always bash Hillary next week. Yes.
I mean, that could be a whole show every time, every week, but it's so painful to spend time back in 2016. Like, it just kills me, but I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys.
Plenty more crap. Thank you all for tuning in. Always punch up, and cheers to everybody. Stay well. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you guys.